The steam from the hot pap rose in the cool morning as John balanced the heavy basin on his head. At 22, he was a pillar of strength for his aging parents. Mama John watched him go, her heart swelling with a prayer of gratitude. After years of barrenness, God had given them a lion-hearted son. By day, he studied law, and by evening, he was in the carpentry shop, his hands covered in sawdust as he helped Papa John build chairs for the village. When the day came for him to leave for the final year of law school, he kissed his mother's forehead and promised to return as a man who would ensure they never walked another day in their lives. As the bus pulled away, he noticed a black car with tinted windows following at a distance. He didn't think much of it until he reached the university gates, where a tall, scary man stepped out from that car and handed him a gold coin embossed with a lion's heart. "We've been watching you, John," the man whispered. "The jungle has a place for you, whether you want it or not." John's brilliance in the lecture hall was undeniable, but the shadows were closing in. The lions, the most dangerous cult on campus, didn't take a no for an answer. They cornered him in the library, their voices low and threatening. They spoke of missing grades and accidental expulsion if he refused, but they also spoke of mansions, luxury cars, and a private doctor for Papa John's failing back. Thinking of his mother hawking pap in the rain, John finally took the oath, believing he could use their power for good. He rose quickly through the ranks, his natural charisma making him a favorite amongst the members, but his popularity came with a hidden cost. At a secret gala, the beautiful daughter of a high court judge, a woman the cult leader, the great Mani, had been obsessed with for years, publicly snubbed the leader to dance with John. As they twirled across the floor, John caught the leader's eyes from across the room. The man wasn't just angry, he was loading a silver-plated pistol. The paradise John had been promised turned into a nightmare overnight. The great Mani's jealousy was a poison that moved through the cult hierarchy. One rainy midnight, John was summoned to the sacrifice chamber, for which he thought was a routine meeting. Instead, he found himself surrounded by 20 men in red robes. They didn't want his brilliant mind anymore. They wanted his blood. They accused him of treason, of trying to obscure the leadership. John fought back. His carpentry-trained muscles surged with strength, but they were too many. As the first heavy blow landed, John realized this wasn't an initiation, it was an execution. He reached for his phone to call his mother one last time, but as he pulled it out, a heavy boot crushed his hand into the concrete, and the light in the room was suddenly extinguished. In the village, Mama John's heart skipped a beat. She dropped her clay pots of pap, and it shattered into 100 pieces. For weeks, there was no word from the city, no letters, No calls. They were worried. Papa John and Mama John. Papa John traveled to the university only to find a wall of silence. The dean looked at his shoes. The police laughed and told him his son had probably run away with a girl. The Lions had connections in every office, from the parliament to the morgue. Finally, a package arrived at their small wooden door. It wasn't John's law degree. It was his blood-stained shirt and a single gold coin. Mama John let out a scream that seemed to tear the very sky apart. She vowed she would not rest until the men who took her pride were behind bars. But as she stood up to head to the city, she collapsed, her hands clutched in her chest as her breath began to rattle. Mama John had died of a broken heart, seeking justice for her son, but no justice was given. Papa John had to take up the case. The courtroom was cold and empty. Papa John stood before a judge who wore a gold lion ring on his finger. Case dismissed for lack of evidence, the judge droned, not even looking up. There would be no justice for the son who had wanted to be a lawyer for the poor. The untouchable Lions had won. The story ends on a grey drizzling afternoon. Papa John is the only one left in the village cemetery. He had buried his son in a nameless grave, and now he is lowering Mama John into the earth beside him. She had died of a broken heart. Her last words, a plea for a justice that never arrived. As the first shovel of dirt hits the casket, Papa John looks up with his trembling, calloused hands, the hands of a carpenter who once built a future, now only building coffins. He turns to leave, but stops when he sees a black car with tinted windows idling at the cemetery gate, and the door slowly begins to crack open.